Hi, this is me again, and LVDQ, and I'm on my Beastlord. I'm gonna start going here, and I know I promised that I thought I might be able to be max level and squared away, and then I would go on to the newer zones on this alt, but I'm still kind of learning the Beastlord, and I kind of want to try to start putting videos up a little bit more often than I have. Just so you know, I've adjusted the mic ever so slightly up just a little bit to see how it goes as far as my voice and people being able to hear me and things. And plus I'm trying to speak up a little bit more, and part of it's just I tend to mumble sometimes, and I don't see you people or anything, so, and I just feel like I'm talking to myself. And if you're a crazy person, yeah, you talk to yourself full voice, but you know, you don't do that normally. I would like to hope anyway. Anyway, so here I am, and I'm kind of actually sort of relearning this alt. Everybody kind of relearns alts that they don't play that often, and I think I've kind of got this one relearned a bit. Changed my buttons around a little since my last video. It makes, I don't know if it makes sense or if it's the most efficient, but it fits my play style a little bit better, I think. So, and I'm not sure if I was using my DPS merc or not last time. Can't remember. I think I did though. And this time I'd like to cover something that I do. Let's see if I can do it as I just kind of rock on here. This is one thing about the Beastlords, sort of, when they grind anyway, they you can kind of go non-stop, man. You don't have to stop for much. These are light blues. I'm getting AA experience. I've got an XP potion thing I got from getting the special edition on the X pack. Anyway, so I'm kind of rambling on here. I do that. All right, so here's what we do is I've got multiple mercs here. I like the frogs. I think they're kind of cool. They're aesthetically pleasing to me. I like how they hop when they do certain things, and sometimes when when they buff them with certain buffs, they'll put their arms up like they just did, like they just scored a touchdown or something, or did something really awesome. That's pretty cool. I think it's funny. So I like the frogs. And when I got like a frog rogue, I just like the certain different colorings of the frogs. This particular one here, you can see him. That's a pretty good vantage point for him. This coloring of him here, I named him Spunky. He's got like sort of a light brownish kind of coloring and black eyes, and that kind of felt a little roguish to me. He's got black spots on him, and he's got the chainmail is kind of dark because he's the DPS merc and melee DPS, which is kind of a rogue. I think he looks pretty cool. So in my list, you'll see that these are easy. These casters, I don't really have to heal my pet much. I got 4 of them though. You can spend, and this is an across account wide sort of thing that you can do with these. So on every alt I make, no matter what server I go to, I always have 4 slots. Back in, I think it was 08 or something, when I first came back to EQ, my logic in doing that, because I did it way back then, was that, I'd like to have, of these mercs, I'd like to have one of each type. And over time I realized, and others have realized, that yeah, there's only certain mercs that are really worth a crap. And then sometimes some of those mercs are just worth a crap in very specific situations, or in situations of kind of when you're a little desperate. And then they might barely do the job, kind of a thing. A while ago, a long time ago, it used to be that the best DPS merc was the caster mercs, the DPS casters, and then they fixed them because evidently they were using a spell that should not have been in their AI. It was allowing them to do way more damage than they should. Ever since they did that, and it basically sort of rebalanced the DPS of the mercs. The melee DPS is generally seen as doing a little more damage than the caster merc. Plus, they don't have to worry about mana, so you can just, the caster merc, it'll run out of mana, especially if you have it on burn, and then it's kind of doesn't do very well until it's allowed to kind of get more mana, which means either put it on passive while you do without it, or you just stop doing what you were doing. So, I mean, it's so I've always thought it was kind of cool for the Beastlords to be able to use. You can, much like say a paladin can use a DPS merc also when they kind of just grind. Beastlords can do the same thing. I thought it was, plus Beastlords as a general rule, I think I haven't played paladins very much or anything, but I think they put out a little bit more DPS than paladins in general, unless you're going up against undead, I suppose. I'm just using logic there. I don't know for sure. I'm sure a more experienced paladin player would know way more than me. If that's a real true statement, but but I can't cast cleric buffs, right? And if you just had 2 slots, then you'd have to switch mercs after a battle, and then you could have it buff or something. But then you have to wait like 4 or 5 minutes or something before you can switch back to the other merc. But since I have 4 slots, what I did was I made them each. I got 2 healers and 2 DPS melee DPS mercs, so I can just keep rotating, and I won't have to. Whenever I have to buff, I don't really have to wait on anything. I can just do my thing. Yeah, this guy is gonna hit my pet just a little harder, even slowed. So that's what I do. So I got this DPS mark out. When it comes time when I feel like I need to rebuff the cleric buffs, I take a little pause for the cause. I just redo my buffs that I put out, because why not? And switch to this healer, which is the same coloring as this one, by the way. Yeah, I worked extra hard to get the coloring to match. I got a pair that looks like this, and I got a pair that looks like my favorite coloring of frogs is the black and the yellow. I like to call black and gold, otherwise known as the Pittsburgh Steelers colors. A big Steelers fan. I'm going to heal the pet a little bit here. So that's these 2 up here. So then you do your buffing, and then right after you get done buffing, you can switch to this one. If you had to wait on this one, you'd have to wait. But this other DPS merc can be summoned right away. And that's kind of, so you don't have to really wait for the stuff for it to. I'll do a switch right now just for kicks, just to show you. No, I don't want to do that, because then I have to rebuff, because the buffs on this other melee DPS obviously are going to be a little bit older and they won't match. And okay, fine, I'm not going to do that. But you get the idea, right? You don't really need to see it. So I would recommend getting extra merc slots. It's a one-time thing, goes across, goes account wide, and it can come in very handy. I would imagine it might even come in handy even if you're a boxer. I'm not a boxer. I have a second account that I'm not closed-minded. I give it a shot. And for a brief bit with my Ranger, I kind of liked it. But then it just got to be a pain in the butt because you just end up spending extra time, and you end up, unless you just live in the game, or it just ends up being an extra expense. You have to buy, even with just one extra account, it's like 2 X-Packs every time it comes out every year. And, and it's really sort of a jury rig kind of a thing. You're not really playing the MMO really as it was really intended. Now maybe they have sort of modified it to the point where it's kind of intended to be played like that now, sort of, by the newer devs, and they try to gear things so that that's friendly to that type of play. But I've been playing since December of 1999, and frankly, if I felt differently about the P99 situation as far as it being free and stuff, I just don't trust it. I don't like picky where I get files from. And while I'm sure their intentions are noble, or well, you want to call it pure or whatever, I don't know. But they bear no responsibility if something really goes wrong. So I don't like that. I make money. I could pay $20, a month, and in so doing, because you're paying for a service. There's whether they make you sign a certain toss or something, or try to put as many disclaimers as they can to kind of scare you. Half the stuff they put out, it's not going to hold water in a class action suit if something big. Like look at look at the Sony hack way a long time ago, a number of years ago. I don't care what kind of disclaimer they put in. They got sued and they had to pay out money because they got caught with their pants down with their networks, and some hackers screwed them over, and some people suffered identity theft, and there was credit card numbers exposed, whatever else. I guess I may be getting some of the technical details a little wrong, but my point is that they got sued and they lost the class action lawsuit because of it. So you're still protected. You can quote whatever disclaimers you've signed for a service all you want, but the bottom line is just because you sign something doesn't necessarily mean it's legally binding. The document you're signing has to be legal itself for you when you sign it, for it to really mean anything, regardless if you sign it or not. So, with that covered, that's why I really don't play P99. Plus, I'm a little older, and frankly, I don't have as much free time as I used to. And it just happens. Life happens, You still want to have that nostalgic feeling of kind of playing an older game you're very familiar with, that you've grown to. It's like an old pair of sneakers, you just like, or an old rock band that you like listening to that, are retired or even passed away, It's not the current music, but you like it. It's what you maybe grew up with, and it brings back other memories of your youth and other things. So, it's what it's okay. It's how people are. You're not living in the past by doing that. It's nice to kind of remember old memories. So, in case you haven't really connected with exactly what I'm doing, I've kind of screwed up my mana management a little bit through this process. But as you can tell, I'm still around, what, 50, almost 60%. What is this? Like 60% mana. And I'm going pretty much non-stop from one mob to the next. They're light blues, but frankly, the newer mobs in the newer X-Pack and Larian song, or whatever. Why is he running away over there? Anyway, those newer mobs, they don't hit very hard. They have more hit points, so the kills will be slower than this. But the mobs with like the dual daggers in this one, I don't know what they're called. They got those funky names. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. But the other, not this one, this caster one, but the other one that's got the dual daggers, they're pretty tough for their level. And as you can tell, outside of the initial pet buff I put on because I started putting on that bolstering warder. I started reusing that again because it doesn't seem to, it's still holding aggro over my merc well enough that I'm using it just for that little extra bit of healing. And I don't know if it really works, the AA works that way, but the heal AA that you have that kind of bolsters, makes your heals better, because you're putting that, I don't know if it's the pet that's getting the credit for the heal necessarily, or if the AA works for it. I don't know if it has to be coming from me. There's some doubt with that, and I could figure it out if I really wanted to dig and get a parser and things, but anyway, but I'm not. That's too much work. It's a game. I'm just playing it. It makes me feel better just having that buff on. So I redid my spells a little bit. It's not much. I think I just put the heal in, took a nuke out, and that was it, really. I like having these buffs on my lineup all the time because they're shorter buffs that I have to recast, especially this one here that gives the boost to I'll hit it now, I'm getting a little low on it. Gives a boost to attack and stuff like that. $27 minutes for a buff nowadays is fairly short. You're going to end up, especially if you play like me and you just kind of grind. And as a general rule, my typical gaming session is about 2 hours long. So I game for about 2 hours. I grind somewhere, hit a camp with my necro, and kill a rare as many times as I can, hoping to get some fat loot. And that's it. Because of my old school experience in the game, I've been very happy with staying with the same zone sometimes, completely through the life of an expansion. Sometimes, like this zone here, man, I've got a reputation on my server for this is basically my home. and and especially this area or the rare that's sort of behind me. Well, where would it be at? Well, that's the rare worm. Where the heck's that dude at? Mundique. He's out in this area. It's not labeled though for some reason. It's forgotten. Why is it not labeled? Huh. It's like there's a named alien, bald little alien dude that spawns from killing the alien dudes over here. See if he's up. No, I've seen people running their box teams through here, not paying attention, and when he happens to be up, he'll tag them. I've seen Shadow Knights just not paying attention, just get plowed, and he just kills them because he sees through invis, regular invis. That's funny to me. Anyway, another tough guy. So yeah, I recommend getting extra merc slots. I think what I'm going to do, and this is the XP weekend, there's a bonus this weekend for XP. It's been 100%. So I kind of popped this thing here. One of those bottles of adventures you get when you get it, the special part. I like to get even if I don't use them very much, I still like to get the extra sort of mercenary skins that you can get if you pay a little extra. Plus you get a new bag and stuff, you know. Wow, I better load up on some mana, man. And there's a ranger. It gave me some ranger buffs passing through. I call this headshot rock because of the rock over here. There's a rock here, and heal the pet there a little bit. You gotta be kidding me! Come on, man. There you go. So we call it headshot rock, and yeah, when I had my ranger here, you can just mow through these guys hardcore, man. Some guys like to be up on top of the rock doing their thing with their rangers, just shooting ba 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 pew pew. And me, I didn't do that because especially when I was experimenting with my second account that had a shaman, obviously, I was able to use the merc tank pretty well with my ranger only, mainly because my ranger pumped out such massive DPS that the merc tank didn't really have to tank for that long, and the healer didn't have to really waste that much mana because it didn't have to heal it for that long. It just had to keep it up for the amount of time before the mob died. And because of you, I think I have a video or two of me doing my headshotting with the merc tank. And yeah, when you and it doesn't have to be a merc, it could be another person, you know, playing a character. But yeah, whenever a mob is getting tanked, rangers do double damage with their shots, and that double damage applies to when they get a headshot. It is in crazy DPS, at least as of about a year ago. I don't know, maybe it doesn't apply now. It might, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm sure a lot of people know this. This is a pretty common spot. I'm sure on all servers, you know. This is the Maiden's Eye zone. For Shadows of Luclin. So the zone is this right here. It's like the beginning zone for this X pack, and it was awesome. Usually the beginning zones in X packs, the mobs, for a few years anyway, the mobs seem to be a little overtuned for a tier 1 zone. Remember in Empires of Canark, that was especially the case, man. People just getting there. after Empires of Canark would, I'm sorry, my mind's wandering, would show up there and kind of get, unless they were part of a group, they were kind of, and even the box teams, I think, were kind of, the mobs are a little tougher. Every mob had some kind of special ability, or some people considered them casters. There's a difference in the game between an ability and a spell. Everybody calls just everything, if it's not a melee or a proc, they call it a spell. Sometimes they're abilities, and they are treated differently by the game if it's an ability versus a spell. That's why some AAs will buff spell damage, but it doesn't apply to certain other things because they are abilities. They aren't spells. These right here are abilities. These do not get the buffs from AAs that were supposed to boost, say, spell damage. That's why they don't. It's not a bug. It's because it is a different classification. So here, let me just take a rest here, so this isn't super long. I'm getting off topic and everything. Biggest thing, I just want to kind of throw a video out there. I've gotten through my XP pot, so I don't have to, I'm not on a timer now, so I got my AAs for this dude. This session's been like 82. It's a general rule. Beastlords, I'm just very spoiled for my Necro, man. The Necro is built for soloing. It just is. I got a lot of A's for the focus. You know, this is not going to be fun at all. Matter of fact, I'll focus on everything besides this because I'm going to get auto granted, I think, the next X pack when it comes out in November, December, whenever they throw it out there. I'll get it, and actually I won't even have to buy it before I'll get the extra stuff. The free AAs. I'll get the next rank of these all free. Let's see. Hang on, let's go by this clause. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, my eyes. Damn, my old eyes. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Goes back 4. Are these in chronological order? They are not in chronological order. It's not even alphabetical order. What the hell is the logic in this thing? I always forget the order. Anyway, you know, it's going to be one new, one X pack more. So you're going to get free AAs if you're not super current on everything, up to 4. I think it's 4 X packs back. So Claws of Eviction, whatever the one was after this, I'll get all these for free, for at least Claws of Eviction, and that'll be something. As you can tell, it's not like I haven't done nothing. I've done some stuff. This right here, I'll probably leave that alone till I get more free stuff. And this is an alt. I've really strongly considered about switching this to be my main, simply because it plays differently. I feel like I need a little bit of a change. And you can always catch up a Necro pretty easily because they're just, they're just solo awesome. They're really good at soloing and that type of thing. This right here, I don't think that was a mistake. And I'll just leave it like that. What about the Merc? Sure. Throw something out there. Let's get rid of those. All right. So what I do is I'm like 11% away from getting the max level anyway, and I use the Overseer, made an Overseer button. That's, if you put / over it, it'll do the Overseer thing. It's like shorthand for it. And so I do these. I always do the 12-hour ones. So I popped on this morning. I and I did the rotation of these and put some new ones in there. So right now it's like 3:30ish in the afternoon or so. So tonight I'll be able to tonight I'll be able to do that, and I get with all the extra bonus XP, it'll get me another 10% ish or so, maybe slightly more. If I can squeak in before they turn the bonus XP off, I might be able to get that level before they turn the bonus XP off. If not, it's not the end of the world. Typically, if you do the 12-hour, quests in this, like all 5 quests you do are 12-hour ones, it's going to get you roughly about 5 or 6% of level XP. If you do, that's just with regular XP, right? So doing the bonus, it was more. It was like double that, So, yeah, anyway, that's how that's gonna go. We'll see. I'm not in a huge hurry. I mean, I'd kind of like to see him get his level, and I really want to just see how I can compare this guy with my Necro. Obviously, Necros are just kings of soloing, but are they really that? I mean, it's if I can still at least, really all I really care about is at least being able to kill without having to box T1 rares, just moloing or soloing. And I feel like even if I'm able to still be able to heal my pet well enough against a rare to still be able to have the DPS smirk out, I think that sounds good. Like I could definitely, take care of that rare without too much of a problem, as long as it's not really a caster. And even a caster, we'll kind of see kind of a thing. But because the pet heal I have, this one will take off like various little debuffs and stuff that might get stuck on your pet if it's a caster. So but the DPS is so far, even though but see, I'm way behind on my AAs, right? If I get all my AAs really caught up, pet maxed out, get my AAs maxed out, including the focus really, which will take forever. But when I get everything maxed out with the AAs, I'm just curious. Then I'll be able to have, because my Necro's AAs are maxed out, and I know what to expect from him a little bit in the pet, what the pet's capabilities are, and how much I might have to ruin the pet to make sure it can, survive a rare and things like that. If it's a tough rare, not all rares are created equal, even in the same tier, whether it's tier 1 or 2 or is there really a tier 3? Really, I never even bug. Yeah, it's like tier 1 or 2 is all I ever mess with. So tier 2, I've tried killing a tier 2 rare on my Necro fairly recently, a couple weeks ago, and that was really rough. As a matter of fact, I think I had to escape out of that. I had to fade out of that because I could tell it wasn't gonna really be successul. And I hate dying because I hate having to get pet gear on my pet again and make a new pet and all that stuff. It's a pain in the ass. It's just more of a convenience thing than anything. So that's another thing too with the pet classes. I fear death a little bit, If you're playing a melee character or some other character that doesn't really use a pet, who cares, You're going to get the XP back, especially your merc's going to res you when you summon your corpse back into the guild lobby. You're only going to lose a few percentage of XP. You're going to be able to easily get that back just soloing in an hour or so, even if you're just grinding on mobs. It's no problem, man. No big deal. So I'm going to take a drink here. That kind of takes something away from the game for me, my estimation. I'm going to demonstrate switching out pets. All right, here we go. Healer. Load my buffs. Get on up, healer. Come on, man. There you go. All right. See, he has the same coloring. I haven't given him a new name. I don't know, I might do it. Who knows? So then I just find the cleric buffs. And I just use the cleric when I'm just grinding. I just use the cleric for the buffs. I always put mine on first to make sure that the pet's buffs don't run out before mine if I'm really calling it close on the buff timing. So generally, if a buff gets below 30 minutes, I'm gonna just rebuff everything. That's how I do. All right, now all the cleric buffs are on. Good to go. So now I'm gonna move and boom, right away. See? This is a different melee DPS. This is Spanky. The other guy's name was Spunky. Spanky and Spunky. 2 DPS mercs. I'm not sure what I want to name my healers. Flippy and Floppy, maybe? Actually, that sounds pretty good. If you like Flippy and Floppy for my 2 healer frogs, let me know. All right. I'm just good. I just buff. All right. Do the pet first. I do dire and protection because the pet's tanking. And there's the speed buff for everybody in the pet, along with the extra pet buff it gives for the pet. And just do all the buffs. There he goes with his arms. There's somebody with a mage that wants to get in on some XP grinding, I think. It's up there at the top of the hill up there. Running around with their mate, with their air pet. Let me spy here what's going on. See these jackasses here. This is what irritates me. If somebody has just anonymous next to their, they're probably doing something they shouldn't be doing, which is probably AFK botting. And I associate boxing with that kind of activity. It's not fair. And it's sort of I know everybody boxes doesn't play like that and stuff. Some do. And they justify it. I don't know. Whatever, man. I'm tired of that crap. I don't want to argue about it. If you do what you do, man. You know? The way I play, it's pretty much, I like to have me as the assist because I like the markings it puts on the mob when I target it. I like to have the arrows on there and see the little arrows and extra info, the percentage and stuff on them. I like that. Here he comes. Goes the pet. Get him Spanky and we're rocking. Alright, a little fizzle on that. I switched my buttons down here around a little. They're mostly the same, but a little bit. I just threw all of these AAs and disciplines that I use on one button. So I have one button that is completely free of any kind of mana expenditure. When I'm just chilling, I just wait for all of these to refresh before I hit number 4. And then I hit number 3 again to do those. And since I have the dots on the mob, I'm just kind of doing this 3-4, 3-4 in a very casual, kind of slow repetition. It is pretty chill. And if I want, I could even go even if I want slower kills but less interaction, I can even go, you know, slower, you know, less button pushes than that even. If I could choose just to keep these two buffs on, which means I don't have to do this buff once, which comes from this, which is on number 3. Hit number 3 just once a fight, and then hit the discs a couple of times because that has this on it, and then just heal the pet the rest of the time. I got my DPS merc helping me out, and stuff will die, and you know, I might only have to do 4 or 5 button presses the whole fight. You know, it's crazy. Oops. And there's a nuke on that number 3 button also. But yeah, these guys right here, they're a little tougher. I think they hit almost as hard as the current X-Pax mobs. And if I'm paying attention when it runs out, all I really have to do is do the promise heal on my pet against these guys, even though they're pretty tough. And it'll keep my pet healed up just fine. Against the 2 other types of mobs that are in this little area here just for grinding, I don't really have to heal my pet really at all. It heals itself fine with its cell pet bolstering water proc thing. So I feel like as far as I'm just grinding with this class, I think I've got the jam. I think I've got my style of doing it anyway down pretty well. I know where I can do shortcuts with it. I know what I can omit depending on my mood or whatever, you know, and still be able to get stuff done. But I am clueless on how to fight a rare with this class and have a reasonable expectation of success killing it. So what I plan on doing once I get max level, maybe not max 8, I think I'll start practicing in this zone on the rares in here with them before I get max 8. And to be honest, you know, if that goes really well, then I'll give the ones a shot in Lorian's Song. Maybe at Tamira's Falls, or maybe right there in the beginning zone of the inn, and check that out, see how that goes. I definitely want to be max level with all my spells, rank 2 spells, which I will have. I got the 5 glowing ones here, so I'm good to go with all that stuff. Talking too much, not paying attention to my promise stuff. I've seen that promise heal like 50% of my pet before when it crits. So it's does pretty okay. There you go. See, that was a pretty big crit. I've seen bigger, but that was a pretty big crit on the promise heal. Throw another one up there, and that'll be fine for the end of the fight. So on my Necro, what I would do if my pet wasn't strong enough for a rare, I would use Dire Charm to be able to fight the rare. I've got some videos of me doing that against a rare Shadow Knight mob in during that X-Pack for it was in Western Wastes, and yeah, my regular pet, no matter how much gear I had on it or whatever, because I just have group gear for pet enhanced minions. It did not. It was eating my pet, no problem. Ruining. I was healing it. Everything. It was not working. So what I did was I would charm one of the other mobs in the area. And I think they were actually undead. I don't think I had to nuke them. But I have also charmed mobs that I had to do the undead nuke on before I charmed it. and you know, worked out okay. It's a hassle to do, but that's an option. If so, really a necro, if you're able to use that dire charm to its full capacity, whether you're around undead mobs or live mobs, you can do it. As long as the mobs are designated as charmable, it's relatively close in the neighborhood of that rare that you're hunting. And come on, man, what's up? And these guys hit pretty hard, man. See, my pet against the other ones, I don't have to heal hardly at all. These guys, they chop them down a decent amount. And I got my pet fully A8'd and everything, and got him with current pet gear and all that stuff. I even have, I think I might have some trash gear on him that's better than summon for 1 or 2 spots. So this pet's, doing all right. It's just EM25, which is the lowest group pet focus for Larian Song. So, but he's tough. I think he's a little tougher than my Necro pet, but really not all that much tougher. This is why I feel a little, but really the biggest hurdle for me to, I put my dots on. Hurdle for me to get across when I'm hunting rares with this guy, I think, is going to be just simply the DPS I'm able to pump out. Come on, man, what's up? That might be a little bit of an issue. I don't know. I've never killed rares soloing a Beastlord before. So everybody says, oh, practically any class can solo tier 1 mobs and stuff, no problem. Sometimes I think it's just the raiders that say that. And they're just a little out of touch, and they kind of forget exactly how things were before they had this constant influx of raid gear from X-Pack to X-Pack. Okay, if you have raid gear on your character from the previous X-Pack, you are head and shoulders still way above the gear that would be offered in that X-Pack for the tier 1 kind of gear. You're still equal to at least like tier 3 group gear for the newest X-Pack down day 1, if you have like all raid gear. So I think they get a little they're just a little out of touch with remembering how things might kind of flow. See, now this right here, I won't have to heal my pet at all. So he'll stay around there, around that 85 to 90 hit points, no problem. He might even gain some if he gets enough pet rooms on more. That's another thing with this pet here. I've noticed he seems to get more pet rooms on a little bit more consistently than my Necro pet does. The Necro pet will cast on itself will proc a pet rune also, just like the mage pets and these Beastlord pets, but they don't do it near as often. I would assume that the pet rune happens more for the mage pets than even the Beastlord pet. But this Beastlord pet definitely runes itself way more often than my Necro's pet does. But my Necro pet has its own life taps, plus I put a life tap buff on it for an extra life tap proc that really does a pretty excellent amount of healing on him. So my pet has no aggro problems at all, and he is just procking life taps like crazy. He's got like three 3 different life tap procs he can do. His stock sort of small Spectre life taps that can do, and then I guess that would just be 2 different procs, but yeah. You could have 3 if you put fancy weapons on them, and you know, if you wanted to put, you know, tier 1, like say weapons on the pet that's got a life tap proc on it, you can do that. I think that's what Zelen does. I don't really do that. I just put mage weapons on. This one right here, he does not have aggro axes. He's got the regular like fire. He's got the fire weapons on him, and he's holding aggro. Okay, he gets up into the yellow numbers sometimes. So we'll see if I keep it like that. I just felt like I had to get him to do a little bit more DPS. I think it's mainly just in raiding that pets are kind of gimped with procs because of lag. I've heard of an issue with that. So me just grinding, especially, or even against the rare, you know, just soloing and stuff. I'm not worried about. I'm not gonna not give my pet weapons. I'm just not gonna. Plus, there's lots of hit points and stuff on those weapons too. I mean, you're kind of gimping your pet if you don't use those. What's the order here? What's going on? I'll get this guy. All right. Let me kill this guy. Let's make this the last one for the video. I do have a pet power button that I made. I'm going to hit it this fight. Or I'll do it with my pointer. Pet power, ho! Right there. Boom. All these 5 abilities are on there. It's not all pet power because the bloodlust for the pet sucks. And it can't keep aggro with it. So I don't know if I've got the right ones. You know, and right here, see this, I've done this super button buff here. That I've got a bunch of them on there. What I've noticed with the AAs is that some buffs, even the sort of buffs that you're supposed to use in extreme circumstances for a DPS boost or to make you or your pet tougher, some are obviously meant to be used in a group or a raid, and some are obviously meant to be used solo when you wouldn't need your pet to tank. And I'm having a little trouble trusting some of the ones, you know, figuring out which ones are really meant to only be used like if you're in a group, right? Obviously, if it reduces the aggro your pet generates, you should be in a group when you have somebody else tanking. You know, a person playing a character tanking, yeah, you know, you don't want your pet grabbing aggro from the tank, so, which is kind of, especially with the Shadow Knight, they don't worry about that. Excuse me. Grabbing some water there. So, yeah, it's gonna be the last time. I'm gonna play a while longer, but this is the last. That was the last mob for this thing. So I'm still, you know, I'm still learning. I'm gonna probably do a lesson after I get done with the video here, and then I'll log off for good, for at least a break anyway. And so there we go. I'm still kind of learning. I got my grind rhythm down really well, though. I'm using the tail rake instead of eagle strike now. That's the special ability, the AA ability that's linked to this that stuns the mobs. It's got plus it has like a nuke and a stun with it. You know, it does damage and it stuns the mob for like a second. It helps a little bit with damage mitigation, and it does just about as much DPS as the dot that you get thrown on there from Eagle Strike. So I feel like I kind of prefer that to Eagle. I kind of flip back and forth sometimes. I don't know. I think the damage from these two is pretty, if there's a difference, it's probably fairly minimal. The Tiger Claw one, obviously, this is another one that's, oh, I don't want to do that. Anyway, the Tiger Claw one, let me just make sure that's on auto activate. Okay. That's the one I want. Tiger Claw reduces the attack rating of the mob. That is for, I mean, you can use it with your pet, I suppose, or maybe up against a rare. Okay, fine. But, you know, that's also something that you might want to do in a group, or maybe a raid. I don't know. But a group, I don't know. I like the tail rake, though. And I like using two-hand weapons instead of a single. This right here, I got, what is this? Yeah, I got ice encrusted one-handers here, and I think they're both clubs. Yeah, I got a hammer and a club. These are really cool. I look like it's like a sort of a scimitar, fancy, almost like a pirate-like scimitar. Is kind of cool. I like those. So I forget where I got them. I think I got them off I don't know if they're still offered on the market or not. Got those a long time ago, and I've kept them because it looks really cool. Dual wielding the hammers with those. It's just pretty cool. But I don't like the damage with it. And I like the animations of the two-handed. I'm really rambling on again, aren't I? So I'm going to stop. I'm new to this. Take it for what you will. I'm just kind of sharing this learning experience on this alt. I got a little bored with my Necro. I got him mostly caught up except for the gear. And with Necros, the gear is kind of a luxury to help extend your mana, but as far as damage you're able to put out, and as long as you have enough to kill the rares that you're killing, which I already do, it's okay. Things are fine. So this is a really good X pack. If you want to switch mains, if you're still in that zone where you like to have a main, you can switch your main pretty well because it's a very grind friendly in the current zones of Lorien Song. Grind friendly. All of the T1 gear is tradable. Okay, so it's easy to find some on the bazaar, and the bazaar is loaded with it, so it's generally fairly cheap, relatively, according to the the economy that's out there for your server. It's going to be cheaper because it's more plentiful, because it's everywhere and it's tradable. I put that stuff on my pets, when I get too much of it, the stuff that's okay to give to your pet, the ring, the neck item, face items, waist items. Believe that might be it. Never give a cloak or a back item to your pet. Never do that. That's where the EM buff is actually a piece of gear that is on your pet that makes it a certain power level, but it doesn't have an AC on it. So if you give your pet any kind of back item that has any AC on it, it's going to accept it and it's going to dump that, and you're going to get rid of whatever EM pet you had once is now just going to be the baseline pet for that level, and you're going to bork your pet up pretty bad. So never, ever, ever give your pet a back item. I've covered that in a pet thing before. Some of the info in that pet video I have is, I think I got a few things wrong in that, but it's mostly right. The gear can be confusing. You can't see what's on these pets, and it's kind of it's irritating. It's an old game though, so you just got to get around some of the limitations of the technology of the day, of the software for the day, and just kind of enjoy it for what it is. That's what I do. That's what anybody should do, and I hope you're doing the same. This is Elwood EQ. I'm done rambling, and I have fun playing the game, and I'll check in with you next time. oh, can't make any promises. Maybe another week, maybe a few days, sometime. If you're regular, I got a few subscribers, so try to be kind to them. I'm not into this. I'm not trying to be a streamer. I'm not trying to. It's just like a little hobby, fun thing that I throw. I really don't know why I put them up there. I just feel like doing it. So once in a while I just feel like doing it. So here we go. And if any of you are roommates or friends of my daughter who's at college, okay, hello. Stay in school and study. All right? Don't goof around too much. Don't do what I did. All right? Have a good one. I'm going to remind myself how the heck to get out of this thing. This is new. Apple, what are you doing to me? Here we go. Okay. All right. Now, see you later.